Hello, my name is Malik Abbasdam. Welcome to PM Express. President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is busy. He's busy not only touring regions and thanking chiefs or touring his new home, the Jubilee House. He's also busy making appointments. Who are the people he's appointing? What do they bring? When we come back from the break, I will introduce my guest who will break down the questions and bring you exciting answers. Keep watching. You're welcome back. You're watching PM Express, and we are talking about appointments being made by President-elect Nana Akufo-Addo. And my guest to do this discussion is none other than our own Dr. Bosman Asare. Doc, welcome. Dr. Bosman Asare is a lecturer at the Political Science Department, University of Ghana. Doc, these appointments, are we not making too much fuss about them?
I think being a government in waiting, let me put it that way, and a party that has been in opposition for many years, 8 years, and all of a sudden the party has won elections. People want to see some names. We want to hear some names. So I think that we are going to make a lot out of the names.
Yeah, but do they really matter, these early appointments? Do they matter?
I think they matter because one of the key things is that we are running a representative democracy. So we elect someone, and the person in turn may end up appointing several other people who are going to prosecute the agenda. So we as a people want to know, are you giving us value for money? Are you selecting the individuals who can help us to get to the promised land, so to speak? So Ghanaians want to know, who are you mandating to do A, B, C, and D? Because we know by the virtue of the fact that you are appointing A, B, C, and D, maybe a lot of things can be done. That's why the appointing authority of the president is very, very important. The people you appoint, you surround yourselves with, will send a clear signal to the Ghanaian people that you are really serious about leadership.
We will look at the names and what they represent and what they bring to his presidency. But before then, we have seen transitions before. We saw in 2001, we saw Rawlings and Kufuor transition. We saw Kufuor come in as new president of the opposing party. In 2008, we saw the same with John Mills. 2016, we are seeing Nana Akufo-Addo. If I remember correctly, in those first two transitions, we didn't see or hear appointments before the swearing in.
When you look at this particular election, I think the winner, we saw the winner somewhere December 9th. So this is perhaps the longest transition period we've had in our history. If you remember, 2000, we had to go for a second round. 2008, another round off. And 2012, remember the court issue. So when you look at it from that perspective, you realize that Nana Akufo-Addo has been very, very fortunate. So he has had an extensive time to do this. So I think he should have even come up with the names earlier, because these names that have come up, I believe strongly that once he was declared the winner, he had a fair idea that these are some of the people.
So you think that some of these lists had been prepared even before the elections?
Oh, no, when you look, let's be very clear. The names, those who are going to work in the flag staff, the chief of staff, the others who are going to be part of the team. Now, these are people who have been with the flag bearer for quite some time. And when you look at the reasons he gave today for selecting these individuals, press secretary, this protocol, etc. So these are individuals who have been with him for a while. And let's be very frank, if you want to be a candidate for president, you better must have an idea who will be helping you when you become the president.
Do the kinds of appointments that the president makes give us a sneak peek into the kind of person he or she is?
Yes, certainly. That's why I made an earlier point. Leadership, your appointing authority is very, very important. The people you are going to surround yourselves will send a clear signal to the people of Ghana. And when you look at this early appointment, what is very clear is that you can see a blend of the old guards and fairly new people who have also joined the political fray. So people in the past were always complaining, the MPP, a government of the old politicians, but now you can really see the blend in it. Although we are yet to see the names of deputy ministers and other ministers, etc., I expect we are going to have a lot of young people who are also going to play significant roles.
So what comes first? Loyalty, competence, balance?
For the appointments I've seen now, I think loyalty is trumping almost every other indicator.
Why is that?
But the point, when you look at someone like the chief of staff, apart from the fact she's very, very competent, she has been formerly a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Action Aid Country Director, has also been in charge of a Dutch NGO program in Ghana, has been a member of parliament. So the competence is there. But apart from that, the loyalty, very, very important. She's been with the flag bearer for a while. And if you are familiar with people who know Madame Osei or Pari, they will tell you that, no, this is someone. So one of the names I had in mind will likely become the chief of staff, happen to be her. And I'm not surprised.
Okay, so you tipped her as one of the likely candidates.
So even on my Facebook wall, I had some names, and later on I went back and I said, I won't be surprised if this woman is appointed, because when you ask the question, people will tell you she has been with the man for a while. And know someone like Nana Akufo-Addo, you can say loyalty is something which is very, very important to him. And apart from the chief of staff nominated, look at Francis. Francis has been with the man, Abu Jinapor, before 2012 especially. So loyalty, but the good thing for the Ghanaian people is that apart from the loyalty, you can also see, if even you are not a supporter of MPP politics, you can also see that these are individuals who are very, very competent, individuals who are ready for prime time. They have the academic qualifications, and the experience is also there to match the portfolios they are being given.
Now, there appears to be a preponderance of opinion that the best chief of staff ever was Kojom Pieni in the last days of Kufuor. When you look at Kojom Pieni, the person and his disposition, his character, his demeanor, and all of that, and you compare Mrs. Fremos Opari, does she cut it?
No, to be very frank with you, I think she has what it takes to be able to even match Mr.
Measured against Kojom Pieni?
Yeah, I'm sure, because the key thing for a chief of staff is that someone, the president, has a lot of confidence in you. And the president sees you as someone who can challenge him or her. And that's very, very important.
Do you think she can do that?
No, I think she can do that because she has the background, she has the experience, she has, in terms of academic, the competence, the experience, she is there. And if you are also the president, why would you want to appoint someone as your chief of staff and the person cannot challenge you? And let's be very clear. When you look at Nanado's campaign, you look at the campaigns of the both parties, you realize that Nanado's campaign did not have a lot of making fun, a lot of, let me put it, trying to
they moved away from
the people.
The 2008 fanfare.
Yeah, everything was serious. So someone who has won election through such a record, you want to make sure that the people you think are very serious, people who are ready for prime time. So I think that this woman is going to do it, and it's really going to send a clear signal to people out there that if you are a president as a man, you can also have a woman who is competent.
Just a small
as your chief
deviation.
of staff.
You were talking about the campaigns being devoid of fanfare. Would you say they learned from the 2008 experience?
I think so. And when you even look at the campaigning strategy of the MPP, they had an agenda that they will be avoiding the big crowds. So most of the big crowds we saw, a number of them were initiated by the regions and even the constituencies. The idea was that if people really liked the party, let's go there and let the people come, rather than having buses moving around, bringing people together. So some of us, I think we knew with the way the campaign was and the mood of the country, this was a candidate and a party likely to win the election.
Okay, so let's stick with Fremos Opari. Your view is she has the pedigree to challenge the president. One of the, and we have to measure her against the previous ones. I think it's fair to do that. We saw Prosper Bani. I think the biggest challenge that Prosper Bani faced as chief of staff was the claim that he didn't connect with the NDC as a political party. Do you not see that playing against Mrs. Sosé in this?
To be very fair to you and to our viewers, the woman is a consummate MPP political person. And some of us are familiar with some of the things she has been doing in the party.
Because you have been teaching political science, so you must be familiar with them.
And this is a woman who understands that once you are occupying a position like the chief of staff, we are going to have the party grassroots from various regions of our country who will be putting pressure on the system. So she knows. And you know, one of the key things as a chief of staff, the party unity, party harmony is very, very important. This MPP victory, foot soldiers did a lot of work. Individuals did a lot of work. So we want to make sure that these individuals do not feel like the system has left them behind. So apart from everything, you want to have a chief of staff who really understands that some people contributed to the victory of the party, and they may be in the various constituencies, districts, regions, etc. So deliberate measures must be put in place to make sure that these people are also okay with the performance of the government. So I think that this woman is ready for prime time.
But apart from just the constituencies and regions, we know that at the top of the party, it was fractured right from 2014 up to 2015. Things got to a head, suspensions had to happen. Do you see her making an effort to bridge the divide at the top?
No, one of the key things I have seen in Ghanaian politics is that when parties are in government, they are united. Once you are in government, you know, the idea of political power sends a clear message, a clear signal to people that you can bring them together. When we were going into this election, didn't we hear the NDC was the most united political party in Ghana?
Absolutely.
Right after the election, I think we are hearing a lot of cracks within the NDC. And I think we heard over the weekend, the Volta region parliamentary delegation said they had someone in mind to become the minority leader. But this was the most united party. And I remember
they are just posturing for positions in the party. It doesn't mean they are divided.
No, that's what
compared to the kinds of problems that the MPP suffered.
You look at the MPP problem. We know all parties have divisions. All parties have. We have the different camps. But once you are in office, what makes it so important is that you are able to bring the various camps together. And the key thing about political party is that the divisions will be there. But once the major goal or the big goal is there that we want to capture political power, at times the differences will be there. And you know, the key thing also which makes it very important is that the thing about elections is that it's always a referendum on the party in government. So if the party in government, you forget that it's a referendum on your administration and you make it an election on the opposition because they are disjointed, they are not organized, they are having a flag bearer, who is this, etc. You end up making a mistake. And I think this election clearly showed that election is always about a referendum on the sitting administration.
I didn't quite get a clear answer from you. Do you see her making an effort to bring back Kobene Japan, Paula Foko, Sami Crab?
Oh, I think Nanadu himself has made this statement that all of us must move on. Let's forget the past. Let's bring others together. And our system is a popular vote system. So I'm very sure she will be able to do that.
Is the party grassroots ready for that?
I think they will be ready for that, because didn't we hear Mr. Kobene Japan made some donation right before the election? Some monies were given to various constituencies, and based on the information I have, it's very likely all these individuals will be part of the inauguration. After all, they are party members, and these are leading members of the party. If you have been suspended from the party, it doesn't imply that you cannot be supportive of the party. So I expect them to be part of the celebration. I expect that the party foot soldiers will understand that these people have been with us in the past. So if something happened and we have to bring them back, I think the woman should be ready to do that.
You don't appear to have any doubts at all about Freema's capacity to handle this portfolio well.
I know she's capable. I know she's capable. When you look at the CV, not many people in Ghana have that particular CV. Action Aid country director. Action Aid is not a small, it's an international non-governmental organization. To be the country director is a big thing. a member of parliament,
deputy local
government. So someone with this record, I think that one has to be convinced that even on the face of the qualifications alone and the experience, one should be convinced that she has the capacity, the wherewithal to function.
Since we are talking about chief of staff, let's deal with the controversial one. And I guess the one which took Facebook by storm the whole of the week, Abu Jinapor.
This happens to be a young man who is very, very ambitious. And if you have listened to him, you realize that it's an intellectual, very, very intelligent. The senior brother happens to be my friend. We did a PhD.
You are talking about John Jinapor?
No, not Ahmed Jinapor,
okay,
who teaches
Ahmed Jinapor.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. He happens to be. We went to Lagos together, and when I look at the smartness of the senior brother, I have no doubt. No, he's a lawyer, and let's be very frank. To become a lawyer in our republic, you have to go through. And I based on the information I have, he finished KNUST. From there, he came to the University of Ghana, and apart from that, he has also been practicing. He has the experience to back it. So I know Nana has seen that this is an ambitious young man who can support. And let's be very frank, he's supporting in a deputy capacity. She has some people like Madame Frema and others to learn from. So I know one thing about political parties is that you're also looking for individuals who will be ready for the future, for prime time, and how best to do it and to really expose them, give them some good responsibilities, important responsibilities. So when they're able to live up to expectation, then the party may end up benefiting.
Was this not just to deal with this problem of ethnicity? We know that his ethnic background is North. We know that his Gonja, like President John Mahama, we heard him at the party's last rally at the trade fair when he said that he's Gonja, he's a Northerner, but he was going to vote against John Mahama, president. Is this not just paying him for doing a hatchet job for the MPP?
We established earlier that loyalty has become a hallmark of Nana Akufo-Addo, especially when you look at the people. So apart from that particular commentary, I don't think that commentary alone will be able to land you to such a prestigious. Because when you look at the scheme of things, the deputy chief of staff is even bigger than the deputy minister of state. So I think that the role he played.
So he's better than his brother.
I wouldn't say he's, but in terms of the deputy
I'm talking about John Jinapor.
Deputy chief of staff. When you look at the scheme of things, a deputy chief of staff is really very, very influential. I don't know what the way we see it in Ghana, but to be deputy chief of staff in the true sense of the word is an influential.
There are those who say he's way too young. Give him something else. Do they have a point?
I think they have a point. They do, but the reality is that you are a political party. You have won election. You also have a presidential candidate in terms of age, septuagenarian, someone in his 70s, and you have young people who have been very, very helpful. And you can see that these individuals are very, very intelligent. And as a political party, as a candidate, as a president, you are not only looking at the now, you are also looking at the next 4 years, 2020. So why don't you expose these individuals, give them some experience? Let's be very clear. These are individuals you can see on the face of their qualifications, their experience. These are people who are very competent. So once they're able to live up to expectation, you continue to encourage them. There are many people out there. If they are not able to do it, they can always be shown the exit.
So this is a kind of a grooming process.
Yes, that's how I see it. Because it's one of the key functions of political parties. You want to make sure that's why if you are a political party, you are not very careful, your leadership will fade. And if you are not careful, to get people to replace them can be very, very difficult. So once you do that, then you know that in the next 4 years, we go to parliament, there are these individuals there who can be ready to become majority leaders, chief whips, etc. And those things are very, very important.
Is the determination of Nanadu, or if you want, the fact that virtually all of these appointments, and you pointed that out, the overriding consideration is loyalty. Is that not exclusionist?
One would be fair to argue that it's exclusionist, but as I said, beyond the loyalty, you can also see that these people are very, very competent. And when you do a lot of studies on leadership, many leaders will tell you that look for individuals who are very, very loyal. But if you can get loyalty and they are also very, very competent, and we know in Ghana our constitution is very clear, regional balance. And if you are a president, you don't want people to be accusing you that you are only selecting from a particular region or particular regions of the country. So why don't you ensure that the people you have appointed are coming from different parts of the country? And in this instance, although a number of them are very young, I think one can confidently say they are very, very competent, and these are people who can really do the job.
So you think all of the storm on Facebook about Abu Jinapor, because there were those who say this is not the time, this is not the place. You think those criticisms were misplaced?
If he had been appointed a chief of staff, I would personally have a problem with it. But you have a situation whereby the chief is there, there's another deputy who appears to be almost 39 years old, a development planner who has been in this business for a while. So you look at it that he appears to be the third tier within that particular scheme. I think most Ghanaians should understand, and let's give him a chance.
So
and I believe
the second deputy, and that's Francis Asensu.
Based on the information we've heard, you look at his background, a development planner. And know the job of the chief of staff, apart from managing the office of the president, in a country like Ghana, the politics is a development business. So if you have someone with such a background, and it's also the founder, one of the key founders of TESCON, he understands the politics, someone who has been at the grassroots. If you have him there, I think it will really bode well for the party and for the president. We shouldn't forget that in 4 years' time, the president will also appear before the Ghanaian people to have your mandate renewed. So have people who are very strategic, who can help you to prosecute your agenda.
Let's pick what these two, Abu Jinapor, and then Fremont Opari, what they said after the president-elect unveiled them.
I look forward to serving His Excellency, and by that extension, the people of Ghana.
Very big position, Chief of Staff, the first woman to occupy such a high-profile office. How are you going to link your office between the party, the governance, to make it work as effective as possible?
Well, I may look young, but I'm not.
Absolutely.
In the sense that I do come with some experience that I think will help. Having managed a department, University of Ghana, that is the Home Science Department, as the acting head of department. I've had lots of managerial experience, having managed 2 big programs in Ghana. I worked as the senior program coordinator for SNV, Netherlands Development Organization. So I think I come with that skill. And also, if I may say so, the last couple of years, since I would say September 2016 and 2013, I've been coordinating Nane's political affairs until today.
What I bring on board is really a lot of dynamism, intellect, brilliance, in all humility and modesty, paramountly to support the Chief of Staff. But that is going to be my role. My role will be to support the Chief of Staff, for her to discharge her mandate in a manner that the President will be successful, in a manner that the government of President Akufo-Addo will be successful. So I'm gearing up and I'm poised to give the Chief of Staff, Madame Fremont, Mrs. Opari, the needed support.
You're welcome, but you're watching PM Express. You just heard Abu Jinapor. Before him, you heard Mrs. Fremont Opari, Chief of Staff. Abu Jinapor is deputy. My guest is still Dr. Bosman Asara. Doc, one thing we didn't explore, the fact that she's the first female to occupy this position. How significant is that?
It is very, very significant because we live in a world where we talk about equal employment opportunity, we talk about affirmative action. And you know, in our part of the world, we always have the perception that for certain jobs, it's a man who must be seen to be doing, and Chief of Staff happens to be one of them, especially because you need to make sure the party foot soldiers are very excited, and you also the type, if ministries are not functioning well, you are the one. At times, even without the knowledge of the president, you can call a minister to find out what are the things happening over there. So for a woman to be given the chance to have the confidence of the president of the republic, let's say for now the president-elect, that's a good thing, and it bodes well for women moving forward. Because if you're a woman, then you can even be thinking of becoming a president of our republic, becoming a speaker, which we've had before, chief justice in that manner. So at least when it comes to certain sensitive positions, now we are convinced that what men can do, women can equally do that.
We know that before the 2008 elections, Nana Addo wanted Haji Ali Mamama as his running mate. The party didn't accept that because the party, many leaders of the party didn't believe that it was a good choice. So he was forced to settle on Dr. Bawumia. Now he's picked a lady as his chief of staff. Does it give us a certain level, a certain idea about his inclinations?
Yeah, I think it does. It sends a clear message to all of us that there's a leader who generally believes that women are capable of capturing the commanding heights of our society, and that just as we give men the chance to serve in certain sensitive places, let's give women same opportunities. And it's also a clear indication that at times we shouldn't be looking at whether people are men or they are women, etc. Let's be looking at competence. Do you have the competence to serve in that capacity? And it shouldn't matter whether you are a man or a woman. So I think if most Ghanaians live like that, it will help us. Because we don't want a situation whereby a section of our population, they are discriminated against because of their sex, because they are men or because they are women. So I think it's good for us to have leaders who think in that particular way.
Another appointment which also generated some storm on Facebook, Nana Santibedi too. Great lawyer, constitutional lawyer, led some of the fights over the electoral rule in court and all of that, has been appointed executive secretary to the president. He's not just a lawyer and party member, his family.
You know, the thing about our politics is that you get to a certain level, certain positions, you want people who are very, very close to you, very, very loyal. Apart from the competency, you're also looking at loyalty, you're also looking at people who are very, very close to you. And when you look at secretary to the president, apart from everything, these are individuals, at times you'll be drafting speeches, you'll be organizing when the president is meeting some foreign dignitaries, you'll be the one coordinating, etc. So it's a position you are always close to the president. Any trip made by the president, in many instances, if you are healthy, you have to be around. So at times you want to have someone very close, but the family issue, I don't see it as a problem. The main thing is that if the person is competent, and as you rightly pointed out, a highly educated person, a lawyer by profession, and based on the information we have, has been practicing for more than 20 years. So I think that we shouldn't see it from that angle. I think the test for the Nana Addo administration is their ability to deliver. Once you are able to perform, people wouldn't worry whether you appointed young people or you appointed people who are family members. Ghanaians want jobs to be created. They want electricity tariffs to go down. They want educational opportunities. So if you even bring family members and you can get the job done, that's the hallmark of leadership. So get the job done.
We saw this kind of marriage fail under the Mahama government because we had a Prosper Bani as chief of staff, we had Dr. Raymond Atuguba as executive secretary to the president, you have secretary to cabinet, you had all of these. Their marriage didn't quite work. And you have a communications director at the presidency who eventually had to leave. There was Tandugbe and all of these guys, it didn't quite work. So eventually some of them had to leave. Raymond Atuguba left, Prosper Bani was moved and later brought back as interior minister. Now you have Nana Santibedi too, who is also family, being executive secretary. You have Frema Osei-Opare, who is chief of staff. You have Lord Comey,
Director of Operations.
Director of Operations at the presidency. Would you not have overlapping roles that would then create bickering amongst them?
I don't think we are going to have that, because you look at the executive secretary, I think your main job is more about you are with the president, helping the president, preparing speeches, meeting foreign dignitaries, creating that enabling environment. So that job is clearly defined. And when you look at, I think we mentioned something about the campaign devoid of some of these antics, etc., entertainment. If you have been elected, and let's be very frank, the expectations of the Ghanaian people, I chanced on a conversation, people even were talking, if Nana Addo had not won, what would be the state of the country. People are looking forward to a lot of changes in their circumstances. So when you have that expectation, you don't have room for excuses. You don't have room for some of these bickerings, etc. So that's what I expect. If even you are a family and you have been appointed and you don't live up to expectation, you'll be shown the exit. Because this government, 4 years' time, I know our election, normally a year to the election, things will start picking up. We are just waiting for the NDC to come up with the election of their party executives. Then they will continue with the flag bearership race. By the time you realize you are going to face the Ghanaian people. So you are not going to allow any family member or a close associate, etc., to undermine the progress you want to bring to this country. So I expect Nana Addo understands these things and is going to ensure that the people work.
But it's a reality that when you have strong individuals, such as you have, playing the kinds of roles that, if you have Nana Asante Bediatu now being the person who writes speeches and others, you are going to have a Minister of Information and probably presidential spokesperson in Mustafa Hamid. Now, you will have a Deputy Information Minister, probably in Ekojo-Oppong Nkrumah, and you have an Nana Asante Bediatu, and you have a Lord Comey, and you have a Chief of Staff, and you have Abu Jinapo, who was also aide to Nana Addo and spoke for him. Wouldn't there be clashes?
Usually you expect that there could be some minor skirmishes here and there. But I expect that with the party having been in opposition for 8 years, Nana Addo, your third time to become president, and you've finally become, you are going to make sure that some of these egos are truncated. You will make sure that you are not going to allow these individuals to do that. And I also expect that there will be defined roles. The Minister for Information and the NDC, no, we didn't have it, and MPP is bringing that back. So I expect that they are going to have clearly defined roles for people to know that this is the area you are functioning. You are the executive secretary, this is your job. And we know the chief of staff is like the overall boss behind the president and the vice. So I expect the chief, having been in the system for a while, to understand that, no, if you are the executive secretary, this is your role. Make sure you stick to it. In anything at all of them are in it together. So why do you want to use your parochial agenda to undermine the interests of the entire administration?
And I didn't even mention Eugene Ahin. Eugene Ahin was the one who coordinated Nana Addo's press activity throughout the campaign, and he's done this for years. And he's going to be in the director of communications, actually, at that place. My point still is, you think there won't be any clashes?
No, with Frema in charge, I don't think there will be something like that. And you know, some of these individuals are fairly young people. It's an opportunity for them. It's going to be a learning curve. Fairly young, you have a lot of things to learn. So I think that they are really going to understand that some of them have been in the system for a while. Let's follow their leadership. In anything at all, looking at Dr. Bawumia and Nana Addo, I don't think they are going to allow individuals to derail the progress they want to bring to the Ghanaian people.
Talking about fairly young, Abu Jinapo is 33. Eugene Ahin is 33. Clara Napaga Suleiman Atia, 30.
Yeah.
And I think she is a superstar appointment, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Because at that particular age, to get to become, I think Nana Addo mentioned a significant or an important presidential staffer who is going to do a lot of things. So I think that's a super, and if she works very hard, she has many years to go.
She's 30, and she's presidential staffer at the Flagstaff House. Do we know anything about her, apart from the fact that we know she completed UDS, she's interested in political and social history of Ghana and all of that? There's nothing about her. I went to her Facebook page. I just saw pictures with Nana Addo and other MPP leaders and campaigns.
Some internships and some...
You know.
So not a lot has been done. But I know the way these political appointments appear to be people who have been serving with you whilst you are in opposition during your campaign, the system always gives you the chance to appoint them. And I think for someone like this, it's an opportunity to take advantage, educate yourself, add value to yourself whilst you are still contributing to the development of the country. Because at this age, if you get the chance and you are able to take it very well, in the next 10 years, who knows, you may end up exploding.
And you're talking about educate oneself. I have read a lot on Facebook, people saying we don't want ministers who will go to school. And I guess this is founded on the allegations leveled against the Mills Mahama governments because a lot of the appointees were said to be people who went to school. And you were talking about people not ready for excuses. But people like this, can they go to school and will not attract similar accusations?
So I think there are certain levels. For example, you have been appointed a minister for education, minister for the interior. For those levels, we don't expect you to be saying you're also trying to get a law degree or get a master's degree. I've been in teaching classes where you have people who are ministers of state and they will be in that particular class.
And I think in class.
Yeah, and
you must
you'll
be
be
a
teaching.
very powerful man.
So the reality is
ministers.
that you don't want a situation whereby people will be going to in their ministry, so they won't have so much time for that work. But I also acknowledge that there are certain levels, just like the Ghanaian people, you are working, you can do some studies in the evening, at times on weekends. For a level of someone where there are many people supervising you, you are not the go-to person, I think you can take advantage. And
Doc, we have to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about the rest of the people, especially those in the area of defense and security. Are there too many multiple roles in this area? You're watching PM Express. We will be back. You're welcome back. You're watching PM Express, and we are talking appointments. Appointments being made by President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Are these the men who will deliver the results for the president and the MPP? Doc, before we went on the break, I said we would deal with the security, but let's deal with Lord Comey. We didn't really analyze Lord Comey. Lord Comey was national organizer of the MPP, and he has been director of operations for election upon election, and even the last campaign. Now he's director of operations at the presidency. What is unique about Lord Comey that makes him such a fine candidate for operations?
As a person, he's been very, very loyal to the MPP as far as MPP politics is concerned. And when you look at the successes of the MPP in government, before they even came in the 2000 elections, he played a very, very significant role. And when you listen to what the president-elect said, there's a guy who has been very loyal to him, a director of operations for his campaign. And to be able to help someone to win elections in our country, you look at how the contest is. That means you have a lot to offer. And I know the Flagstaff House too has a lot of things to do. You must respond to multiple principles. You have the party people, you have the Ghanaian people in general. So if you have someone like Lord Comey, who has been so defensive of the party, he has the competence, he's also very loyal. I think if you are Nana Addo, you want to make sure that this person will still be with you in an advisory capacity, though it may not be so official. The Flagstaff House has a lot of things to do. The problem the Ghanaian people are facing, they've elected you to come and solve them. So if there are people you think they can be around for you to be able to address the problem, why not bring them along? So I think that's why someone like Lord Comey is in the system.
And we know that he was national organizer for two terms.
Yeah.
That's 8 years. Before then, he had been Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the MPP. So he's been through the mill. He's 48. He's 48 years. So 8 of those 40 years, he was national organizer. Another 4 years, he was regional secretary and all of that.
Director of operations for the party. It's almost about getting to 20 years of his lifetime serving the party. And he's shown a lot of dedication. So I'm not surprised that he's up there.
Are some of these appointments, whilst they may be based on loyalty and competence, also job for the boys?
No, as for the job for the boys in politics, you can't rule it out. And it's not only in Ghana, because the nature of the system we are practicing make it possible that once you are elected, there are certain positions that are highly, very, very political. So you bring your own people there. So some of the positions, and I know there are certain positions in the Flagstaff House, you can't say you are removing those people and bringing your own people. So those ones you are allowed to do that. But the system also expects that although you are bringing your own people, make sure you give Ghanaians value for money. Appoint people Ghanaians will be very excited that, oh, these are people who can deliver, who can help you to do the job for us. So you can give it to your boys, but make sure your boys or your girls are people who are very competent and they can do the job.
Even if they are babies, they must be babies with sharp brain.
Yeah, if they have sharp brains, and that one aside, and I know there are many young people who are going to look at Eugene Hahin, Abu Jinapo, and they will be saying that, oh, these are people who are doing very well. I also want to aspire to get to that level. We shouldn't forget that there are many countries, they have leaders who are very young. The Canadian Prime Minister, fairly young. You go to US, people have been serving in very, very sensitive positions, and at times they are 29, they are 30, 31 in that manner.
Let's deal with security. We have Brigadier General Emmanuel Ochri, his National Security Advisor. We also have Joshua Treme, who is also National Security Coordinator. We know that we will have a Defense Minister, so we have National Security Advisor, National Security Coordinator, you have Defense Minister, you will have Interior Minister, you have Chief of you may have Chief of Defense Staff. Would there not be natural clashes because of overlapping roles?
I don't expect that there will be natural clashes. I think that the new addition I've heard so far happens to be the Minister for National Security, which Mr. Kandapa has been
so you have Kandapa for National Security. You have Brigadier General Emmanuel Ochri as National Security Advisor. You have Joshua Treme as National Security Coordinator. So you have
a Minister for Interior.
Yeah, so you are going to have a Minister for Interior. You are going to have a Minister for Defense. So 4 or 5 of them.
I know Ghanaians should expect some explanations from the President-elect as to why we are going to have a Minister for National Security. Because the idea of a Minister for Interior is more about national security. We also know there are some intelligence agencies within some of these entities. For all you know, maybe they are thinking of separating them so that Mr. Kandapa will be in charge of that. Or for all you know, because of the threat of terrorism, we need someone to also be assisting the other agencies. And it may also be possible that because we are going to have all these individuals, the number of deputies, maybe Interior and others, the numbers may end up reducing. So I think we should get some explanation as to why we are going to have a National Security Advisor, then a Minister for National Security,
a National Security Coordinator, and a Defense Minister,
and a Minister for Interior. That means a chunk of our allocations will be going to, because of security, a lot of money will be going there. So I think we should expect some explanation.
At this point, it's not clear to you what the rationale is.
No, it's not so clear because Ghana is not a country that is facing so much threat. And if we have a National Security Advisor, which I am all for it, because as president, you need someone to be in the Flagstaff House, or so if the Jubilee House, you need someone to be there who will be giving you briefings. And that person must be there constantly. That's his full schedule. The National Security Coordinator will normally be teaming up with other security agencies to be doing the work, but you need a National Security Advisor. But the idea of a Minister for National Security, the Interior is almost the same as National Domestic Security. So I think maybe they are coming with some explanations as to why we are going to.
To be fair, this is not the first time we are going to have a Minister for National Security, because we had Kofi Totobi Kwachi under the Rawlings government, who was Minister for National Security. Francis Poku under the last days of the Kufuor government was also, he used to be National Security Coordinator and he became Minister for National Security. Which one would you knock off? National Security Coordinator, National Security Advisor, Minister for National Security.
No, I think the National Security Coordinator has come to stay. But I also like the idea.
And quite recently, that was Larry Bevlulati before he.
So yes. I think a new person is there now.
Yes.
And the idea of a National Security Advisor is consistent with best practices elsewhere. So what I have a problem with is the Minister for National Security, which I think we have to wait. And when it comes to the veteran, I know some of these explanations will be very clear. For all you know, some of the functions of the Ministry for Interior will end up being delegated to the Ministry of National Security. Or that position the person may end up working from the Flagstaff House.
Okay, let's be fair. There's another person who is also quite unknown, and so we didn't say much about him. And I'm talking about Sarah Tuata, who is personal assistant to the president. Yeah. What do we know about her?
So far,
she's 53.
She's 53, yeah. Based on what I heard today, she appears to be someone who has also been with the MPP politics for a while, has been very supportive of. I think the president-elect even made a comment that this is the person who runs the office. She's been doing everything. She manages the president-elect. So I think that for her to be elected, appointed to that particular position, is an indication that the president-elect believes that she has something to offer. So,
and then there is Ambassador Hassan Ahmed, state protocol.
I think for him, the president-elect even made a comment that he is working with the UN, but he has accepted to leave the United Nations to come and help the president as director of state protocol.
He's 62.
And he's 62, and he's also been Ghana's High Commissioner, ambassador to.
Yeah, he's a career diplomat.
So you can see the experience is so rich, and if you are a president, you want to have people like that to be working for you. And for him to accept that he's leaving the United Nations, which we know the conditions of service are usually better than what GOG can offer you, to come and support the development of his countries, I think it's highly, highly commendable. And I know in the coming days, we are going to hear a lot about him.
Yeah, because this he took up this position in 2013 as the head of Office of the United Nations African Union Hybrid Operations in Darfur. And that's in Sudan. He's been there up till date.
Yes.
What's important about this area? State protocol.
No, you look at the state protocol, there are many functions. The president, people will be coming to the Flagstaff House. There are many activities, important state functions. Even people who want to visit, you need that area to be functioning very well. And you look at someone who has been a career diplomat, highly, highly professional, has worked for the United Nations and even still doing. So you look at someone with this rich experience, you want to make sure that such an important office is being occupied by a person of this particular caliber. So I know the president-elect is aware that a lot of responsibilities await him in the Flagstaff House. And for protocol, which is so essential, you need someone, a level-headed person, someone highly, highly matured who can coordinate that for you.
And there is Victor Newman, who is Director of Research. Why at the presidency you are going to have a minister who will be in charge of science, technology, innovation, and I'm talking about Professor Frimpong Boateng, and you are going to have at the presidency a Director of Research to do what?
No, normally, the presidency usually will have offices that will be supporting the various ministries. So at times they can even come up with certain ideas, then they will share with maybe the employment ministry, the education ministry. And if you are president, you also want someone to, at times, an office that will go out there to gather certain information. What are some of the things we want to do? So Director of Research is very, very important. They may end up doing some work, or others will be commissioned to do something. The presidency can commission people, look at the education policy, how is it impacting the Ghanaian people. So they will be able to present it at the presidency level. And the chief of staff and others may end up sharing with the ministry. So I think Director of Research is very, very important. Don't forget that one of the reasons why we are not making progress in Ghana and many other countries is that we don't do a lot of research. So when governments are doing something, they don't take into consideration what are the people even saying. But once you have a strong research base, as a country, you can go very far.
So this is a good one?
No, I think it's a good one. Director of Research is a good one.
Okay, so let's look at all of these appointments so far. And I would imagine I saw images, the president-elect went with them to, is it Jubilee House or Flagstaff House? Which is it?
I think I used to know it as Jubilee House. I wasn't in Ghana then. Then when I came, then the thing had changed to a Flagstaff. So I don't know if the new administration would like to change the name, but I don't think those are semantics. We shouldn't be so worried about it, whatever name they choose. But as a country, we need to accept that this is the name and let's move on.
The Kufuor government built it and named it Jubilee House. Before then, the original buildings that were there used to be Flagstaff House. And the Mills government thought that it didn't make sense to rename it, just give it the old name. So they reverted to Flagstaff House. But of course, Nana throughout his campaign has refused to call the place Flagstaff House. He calls it Jubilee House. Do you see them changing the name or reverting to Jubilee House?
I sense they will be considering it, but that is not now. Because at this time, Ghanaians expect you to do a lot. If you come up with this semantics, changing the names, it will not be appropriate. But I know the NDC shouldn't have changed the name because a government look for the loan or a grant to come and put up a structure as giving a name. Because one thing about governance is that once some people do something, they give it a particular name, and you are coming and make sure you do something different, give it a name, but don't try to change what some people have already done.
Okay, before we go, we don't have too much time left. We haven't seen ministerial appointments. Any expectations?
No, I think we are expecting to hear people like Mr. Damboche. I know Alan Chematin, the name has come up, Professor Frimpong Boateng, and we are hearing people like Mr. Anda. All of them will be part of the process. But one thing which is very, very important is that Nanado should ensure that they give us people who will hit the ground running. Ghanaians have been complaining that things are not going well. That's the reason why they have given you the mandate. So make sure you give them leaders, individuals who can really prosecute the agenda of development, which has been elusive for many years.
Doc, it's been great having you.
My
Dr.
pleasure.
Bosman Asare is a lecturer at the Political Science Department, University of Ghana. Until we bring you another exciting edition of PM Express, my name is Malik Abbas Dabu.